Welcome everyone to our cloud learning platform Cloud Gyan Kosh, where today we are going to discuss some more concepts related to AZ-104 and covering the first topic of this module, which is Microsoft Entra. So before we begin, if you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You are being trained by a Microsoft certified trainer. So be assured that you are going to be aligned with the official course curriculum of Microsoft. So, for today's session, our topic is about resource hierarchy, which is very important to understand for understanding how we have the concept of resource group, the subscription, the resources, and their interdependencies on each other. So, before we understand the resource hierarchy, we must understand what is a Azure Resource Manager. See, whatever services that you spin up, for example, you have your virtual machine, you have your database, you have your servers, or any third party application that you are running, all of these applications are related to each other. They are not separate entities, but they have some interdependencies on each other. If you, whenever you are deploying and you want to work with the resources as a solution that they are all treated and placed in a group, that concept is placed forward with the help of Azure Resource Manager. So you can deploy, update, delete all the resources of your solution as one single coordinated operation. Like if you go and delete a resource group, all the resources which are components of the resource group will be deleted at once. Now, if you don't understand what is a resource group, gradually we will be understanding this terminology in this particular video, right? So we have different resources which reside under the resource group. So whenever you are creating a resource, for example, I'm creating a virtual machine. As a part of creation of virtual machine, we have virtual machine IP address, we have virtual machine network interface card, we have virtual machine virtual networking component. All of these resources are individual resources which are related to this component. And for this particular resource, that is your VM, you can download your template, which is also known as an ARM template, which is nothing but the configuration of the whole resource that you are spinning up. So here in this diagram, you can clearly see that if we go for Azure Resource Manager, whether you create the resource, update the resource, read resources, compliance, Azure policy, RBAC, all of these are taken care by the resource manager, right? And the resource provider is what? We have each resource provider has some set of resources, right? For example, I want to work with Key Vault as a service. So you must go for the resource provider Microsoft.Key Vault. Most of the resource providers are enabled in our Azure environment, but if you feel that a particular service is not running in your subscription, you can enable that particular resource provider. So whenever you are deploying a service, you should gain the understanding whether that particular service is up and that particular resource provider is registered, right? So what is a resource manager? Resource manager manages all the control plane operations in Azure and includes the different components that are centralized between different services. And Azure policy, which we are going to talk in detail, is integrated with the Azure Resource Manager to enforce certain compliance requirement over our resources. So all of the task which is happening, whether you are trying to log in through the Azure portal, or you are trying to log in with Azure CLI, or you are trying to use REST API for communication, right? Or you are using any SDK platforms for interacting with your resources. All of these capabilities, whether you are availing it from the Azure portal, the same capability is available with CLI commands also, REST API also, and SDK also. So you can choose the tool according to your requirement and interact with the resources. So this request which is coming from any of these particular platform is handled by the resource manager, Azure Resource Manager in the backend, right? So whatever API request is there, it passes to the Azure Resource Manager service. The Azure Manager service authenticates and authorize each of those requests and then routes it to the appropriate service. For example, you can go to the CLI commands and type a CLI command to create a VM, or you can go in the Azure portal and spin up a particular virtual machine. Whatever operation that you are doing, the API request is going to be passed on to the Azure Resource Manager for authentication and authorization, and thereafter you will be able to sign in. So this is the whole workflow, and this workflow is managed by your Azure Resource Manager. So what is this Azure Resource Manager? Here you can easily deploy, manage, and monitor the resources as a solution where you treat the resources to be placed combined into something called as a resource group. You can manage the life cycle of the individual resources within the resource group, right? For example, whatever resources you are deploying, you can get the template of that particular resource, and every time using that template you can repeatedly deploy the same resource, right? And you have Azure Resource Manager handling multiple management capabilities with the help of RBAC permissions and Azure policy. So you can apply your organization billings, you can view the cost, tagging, everything is being managed in the backend with the help of Azure Resource Manager. So take the full advantage of Azure Resource Manager whenever you are working with the services by leveraging the template concept, which is a declarative syntax for defining your resources, and going on to running different tasks or commands over your resources.